Everybody, how's it going? It's Pyric here with Laz. How's it going?
It's good. It's good. Let's get into this.
We got a new set that dropped this week, Electric Overload. It's a big set. Added a few new archetypes, some support for a few archetypes we already had. The big ultra rares are actually pretty decent in this pack, but let's start it off here with Shinato.
Pretty solid 8-star ritual, being 3,300, 3,000 defense. So even if he does get econ, he's has a big enough wall on himself.
Yeah, like the turns of defense stuff is going to have a hard time getting through the 3,000 defense. He's got 3,300 attack, so he can attack into mirror walls on some monsters. So, but also his effect's pretty solid, because anytime he sends a monster to the graveyard as a result of battle, you inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to that monster's attack. So they put him in defense to just chump Shinato because he's huge. They're still going to be eating a good chunk of damage.
Overall, really good card.
Yeah, like he doesn't really protect himself, but he's definitely big. He's big, he's got a reasonable effect. He could actually do something.
You could see play eventually. Next up, we got the creator. Can't be special summon, but once he's out on the field, he can discard to special summon the monster from the graveyard. 2,300 attack, 3,000 defense. Overall, pretty good. He's a Thunder type as well, which we've got some more support for the actual type in the new set.
Yeah, I mean, like, his attack's kind of low, but he definitely has okay attack, big defense, Thunder Light monster, so he has, like, support like Mako in the Mists and a couple other new cards, so he's definitely kind of interesting.
Also, being able to ditch a card and get a monster back from the graveyard is pretty good.
Yeah, being able to special summon anything from your graveyard is pretty huge with the creator.
Overall, really solid card. He could see some play eventually. We just need probably a couple more cards to make it interesting. He did also get his, like with Phoenix, you have the sub-boss, like the Summoner, the Creator Incarnate. His 4-star, 1,600 Thunder. Warrior. Tribute him, special summon one from your hand. So he's not that hard to get out. He's pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. And if once you do get him out, he's pretty big. You can kind of get him out of control. So you can kind of sort of go off with him if you have a good way to dump good dudes in your graveyard.
Yeah, overall he's pretty good. Next up we got Angmal, the Fiendish Monarch. Now this is our second Monarch. Pretty basic, 6-star, 2,400, 1,000, which is the common attack for all the 6-star Monarchs.
Yeah, and also that's sort of about where our baseline for monsters are now, so right around that Red Eyes level.
It's just all the Monarchs have the same attack with varying effects. Like this guy, when he's tribute summoned, banish a spell, add one from your deck to your hand with the same name, which is pretty. Being able to search off of a used card is pretty good.
Yeah, you can just straight plus, you could soul exchange him out, then immediately banish the soul exchange and get another one.
Yeah, it's overall, people are underappreciating him. I think he's a solid card. He's a good, compared to the other Monarch we got in the card trader, he's a lot better.
Yeah, he's a lot better than Delg, where Delg's big but kind of supports mill, and it's a little bit disjointed. But he's dark, he's fiend, he's got reasonable support going for him.
He's a Monarch. He's not the worst. He's not the best, obviously, but he's still pretty solid.
And next up we have Rom the Mage. He's a beast warrior. We don't have a whole lot of good support for that, but right now he's a 4-star 1,800. So he's on current power creep curve for an attacker, but you can discard a spell card and then target any spell or trap card your opponents control and destroy it. So he can just turn any card into your hand into an MST effect.
He's an 1,800 beat stick with a solid effect. We do have some Beast Warrior support, so it's not out of the question to see him get played. Even in a generic beatdown deck, he's still solid because he gives you that MST effect.
Yeah, he's not quite like an exact upgrade to Sergeant Electro because his effect's a little bit different, but he can fill a similar role to Electro, which is nice.
Well, he doesn't have the downside of being fired like Great Angus, so you can still see some kind of play against Mako and a few other random decks.
Yeah, like there's some downsides, like where being a fire machine for Sergeant Electro, like you get double hit by Mako decks and stuff like that.
Overall, pretty good. So can't knock him. He's okay.
Yeah, he's solid role player maybe. Definitely could see more play down the road if we get better stuff for Beast Warriors. And then we also got Thunder Nyan Nyan. It's a 1900 beater with downside, but it's a light thunder. We do have some more light thunder effects, but it's actually a playable downside. You just have to only run light monsters in your deck.
Yeah, like she's playable in a pure light build, like Hunters and stuff like that. She can see some plays. She can even jump into one of the archetypes we got in the newest pack and be okay because she's a 1900 beater.
Yeah, like being like we don't have a field spell. Well, actually no, I keep forgetting we do actually have 2 field spells that affect thunder. It's a weird side effect of that.
Well, you peak performance and mythic depths both boost thunders, so you can play either one. Clearly not the greatest idea right this second because it boosts up your Red Eyes players and your Mako players.
Yeah, like that's one of those things is you have to kind of be a little bit mindful of what other people are doing, and obviously like it'd probably be easier to pull off light monsters in peak performance than it would be in mythic depths, but then you got to worry about all of the Red Eyes players you're boosting too.
Like she doesn't have the worst downside as long as you don't play any other colors. She's good.
Yeah, all in all, it's a beater. We got our first like 1900 playable of sorts. It's only gonna get worse from here.
Next up's Heavy Mech Support Armor, which is really solid. It's a union. It's only 500, but when it's normal summon, you can special summon a union from the graveyard. It's typical union effect. It does protect your monster from getting destroyed by a card effect or a battle for 1 turn. So it's overall being able to special summon back a piece for the XYZ archetype is pretty good.
Yeah, being able to SS a dude from the graveyard solid. It does have that generic union effect, which it's something. It doesn't give them like an attack or defense boost, or any other like effects, but you're not really playing it for that. You're playing it because this can special summon a union guy from your graveyard.
Yeah, being able to built-in Call the Haunted pretty much is pretty solid.
Oh, definitely. And then we also have Mecha Phantom Beast, Hamstrat, and this is kind of like an overarching theme of like we have more Thunder support with a few Thunder cards. Is next one we also have more Machine support coming out of this pack, and this one's kind of cool because when it's special summon, when it's flip placed up, you get to special summon 2 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens. So you do get that. Like its stats are kind of mediocre, being in 1100, 1600, but being able to just get 3 dudes out of 1 is pretty solid.
Yeah, he's overall he's okay. The thing is, and most people make this misconception, if he's attacked while face down, he does get flip face up, he does get tokens, but he still gets destroyed. But if he's already face up while there's tokens on the field, he can't be destroyed by battle.
Yeah, so you gotta make that decision of whether you want to try to like keep him around, which would involve like stopping the attacks coming at him, but then at the same time you can do stuff like Half Shut or Windstorm or whatever, and then you'd be able to prevent him from dying.
Yeah, and he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects either. And then he does have a secondary effect by attributing a token. You could target a Mecha Phantom Beast and special summon it. So it's not that bad.
Yeah, we just need more Mecha Phantom Beast stuff to do to make him better.
Yeah, he'll get better as we go. Now this one was quite a shock for me right away because the game's not even a year old yet. But we got Treeborn Frog, and Treeborn Frog kind of defined one of the best decks of a certain meta because he can special summon himself back from the graveyard as long as you have no spells and drops on the field, like instant one tribute fodder. Monarchs were running this stuff. Like, it's such a good card.
Yeah, and like we've already had like Naturia Pineapple, which is the same thing, but like very Naturia centric, and that's seeing some amount of play where Treeborn Frog just doesn't care about if you have plants or this or that or whatever. It's just does the same thing with no downsides.
Yeah, once we start getting better, like Monarchs or one tributes, it's gonna get a lot better as we go along.
And it also has like other things, like it's a water card, so we already have stuff like Moray of Greed, Big Wave, other ways that you can abuse the fact that you have this recyclable water.
Oh yeah, of course. And Big Wave, Small Wave, Daedalus blow up the field, special summon back a monster the next turn, tribute it for something else. Like, there's potential, and it's like one of the better cards in the set.
Yeah, definitely. Like we do have some other generic frog support, but we don't have like the really good big frog stuff yet. We just have a lot of the filler frog stuff.
Well, we don't want to break the game yet, right?
Yeah, not yet. They'll give that at least another couple months.
Next up is pure nostalgia trip for a lot of people. Xyz-Dragon Cannon Fusion. Big guy, 2800 attack, 2600 defense, and you can discard a card and destroy any card your opponent controls.
Yeah, and like the big thing with the Xyz-Dragon Cannon is the fact that, yeah, his effect's good, his stats are good, but he's a fusion monster that doesn't need poly, which is the big thing.
It specifically states you do not use polymerization on the card. And with the union support we've got, he's definitely a one-of. He's playable to an extent, and all the rest of his little, like, all the pieces for him and the other fusions are all playable as well.
Yeah, and like, so they gave us the Dragon Cannon, and they gave us the Union support, and then he's also, you know, he's machine, he's light, he's that kind of stuff, so like, you could use stuff like Rare Metal Morph with him, and they also gave us stuff like Machine Conversion Factory.
Machine assembly line as well, right? Yep. And that's a solid card. We got rollout, frontline base, again, heavy mech support armor, which brings back a fusion union. Sorry. The thing is too, and some people don't realize this, you do not have to have them in the monster zone. You could send them from being equipped, so you can roll out, bring back Z Metal Tank or Y Dragon Head onto your X Head Cannon, frontline base out another piece, and then bring out XC Dragon Cannon in one turn.
Yep, they just have to be face up on the field, so they can be union in the equip zone. And the nice thing is also we got all of the XYZ fusions, so we have YZ Tank Dragon, we have XZ Tank Cannon, and we also have XY Dragon Cannon, and all three of them are perfectly okay on their own as well.
Yeah, they're all really good. Like metal, I can't remember anything. Like, really, truly, they're all playable in their own ways. The 2400 one is clearly the better one out of the bunch because he targets face down spells and traps.
Yeah, that's XZ Tank Cannon. Yeah, 2400, 2100, and yeah, you can target face down spell or traps and destroy them by discarding a card. So he's almost as good as the big guy when only needing 2 cards.
In most situations, you're going to want to play the smaller fusions right away compared to bringing out the big boss.
Yeah, their stats are not a whole lot worse. Their effects are pretty comparable, so like you don't necessarily have to wait to like, you know, try to get to assemble that third piece. But if you can ever make the big dude, he's still worth making.
Oh, definitely. Next up, we got some more support from the last box we got, Dawn of Destiny. We got ninjas. Carrying on with that, we got Ninjutsu Art of Transformation. Now, it being ultra rare kind of hurts because the ninjas were kind of budget to begin with, but it's a really solid card. Being able to attribute a 4-star ninja, bring out, you know, your red armor ninja, or sorry, red dragon ninja, or even a sacred phoenix.
Yeah, like this pretty much just made ninjas. Like ninjas is going to be all about spamming ninjas with like ninjutsu arts of transformation.
Like we did get black dragon ninja. We did get blue dragon ninja. Black dragon ninja is pretty good too. Flame armor ninja, air armor ninja, which are both pretty solid. Flame armor ninja is going to see more play because he himself turns on beatdown by clicking up his level by 1, and right away he's a 2000 beater. White ninja is not bad, destroying a face down, destroying a defense position card on the field. It's really solid. Like, and ninja's got some decent support.
Yeah, and like the stats of the ninjas, none of them are really all that horrendous. They're generally slightly bigger than Naturia's too, so they do a similar thing where we're a bunch of effect monsters. We kind of spam these dudes on the board, but then also like their stats are just a little bit better. They're more on par with stuff that's less spammable.
And moving on, we got we'll move on to the super rares. We got Hinokaga Suche, the 8-star pyro. Biggest downside is a spirit, but if he ever does attack, he makes your opponent discard their entire hand during their next draw phase. And he's 28, 29. He's a pretty big guy.
Yeah, he's pretty big. His effect is absolutely devastating. So like he's definitely a good payoff, but the problem is he's a 2 tribute that can't be special summoned, and he's got spirit downside.
But if he ever does go off, your opponent's kind of dead in the water. The effect is game changing. It's kind of devastating.
Yeah, and similar one is we also got Xyz-Dragon, which again, all the same downsides, can't be special summoned, has spirit downside, but same upsides of he's a 2600, 3100, his stats are good, his effect is also devastating. Whenever he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. So he smacks you and you just draw a ton.
Yeah, he's definitely really solid. Him having such a high defense, I don't ever see anyone attacking into a face down 2 tribute monster though. That's the biggest thing. But he does have 3100 defense. If your opponent is dumb enough to attack it face down, they're taking battle damage. You get to draw until you have 5 cards in your hand. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, in like what might end up being a thing is similar to what was happening before the 3-star demotion nerf. Is people were intentionally setting the big giant gate monsters, and nobody attacks into them. Nobody can really deal with the face down monsters, so we could potentially see something along those lines for Yamada and Hinokaga Sushi, and just setting them, and the next turn having to just flip them and smack using something like Stray Lambs.
Yeah, overall they're both pretty good. And they might see more play eventually once the spirits get more of their support.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the one archetype that's just been brand new to this box is we got ice barriers, and the only high rarity one, which kind of makes them very accessible for people, is General Gantala of the Ice Barrier. And he's 2700, 2000, so his stats are pretty decent. He can tangle with beatdown monsters to an extent, but once per turn, you can select an Ice Barrier monster from your graveyard and special summon it. And Ice Barriers is all about just kind of vomiting dudes on the board.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that it's an end phase only effect, but he's still pretty good. Ice Barrier's got a ton of support. Even with Elegant Mai running around, we got a Dance Princess. So like they're pretty solid.
Yeah, we actually pretty much just kind of sort of got everything you needed to Ice Barriers all in one pack. And like the big things other than like Dance Princess and the General is we got the Magical Triangle of the Ice Barrier. Reveal 3 Ice Barrier monsters with different names, and then you get to destroy the opponent's card that you target, and then also special summon an Ice Barrier monster from your hand. So you kind of just get to immediately just go off if you can open this card. So it's kind of like the central focus of what everything Ice Barriers is trying to do.
Yeah, it's not like the deck's pretty good. I know there's a few King of Game lists running around. And it's funny because in the TCG, no one plays Ice Barriers outside of their synchro monsters because they were so big and so devastating. Here, it's a different kind of format, different kind of playstyle, and seeing Ice Barriers actually get some appreciation is a good thing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's a little early yet, so we'll have to see like how the meta shifts going down the road with the Ice Barriers and Ninja stuff. But it's definitely, they definitely seem like they have a lot of promise. The nice thing about Ice Barriers is they sort of do everything on the same level as what other people are doing, and with Princess they can handle back row, which is definitely like an important thing that you need to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely try to pick up at least a couple copies of Dance Princess from Mai while she's around.
Yeah, that's definitely my goal right now, is just to try to make sure I have the Ice Barrier stuff and then just see how it all shakes down. One of my favorite cards actually from the new set is, like, innocuous as he seems, is Gen X Ally Power Cell. Pretty normal 1700 4-star beater, but he's got dark support, he's got machine support, and then other face-up monsters that control his attribute get 500 attack. So he really, really easily can spiral out of control. If you can get 2 of them on board, they're both 2300s.
Well, yeah, it's a snowball effect, especially once you get going. You can even make stupid plays with Scroll of Bewitchment, changing his attribute to match what you want. Overall, he's pretty solid.
Yeah, and they gave us other Gen X support. Most of them aren't really all that special. Like, we have this Gen X army. He's kind of decent sized. If you tribute a Gen X monster, you can destroy a monster. There's an 1800 one that can shuffle them back into their library. And then there's also one other Gen X that can change attributes to go with the power cell. So, like, they're okay. We don't really have enough to do anything as far as build around them goes, but another generic 1800 attack beater is pretty good. Power Cell's definitely pretty good at being able to power up other dudes, particularly Darks right now.
Yeah, he's pretty decent. Another one that's pretty, like, it might be underrated as it sits right now, Gen X Ally Reliever. 5-star 2200. If you negate the activation from a spell, trap, or affect monster's effect activated by your opponent, you can special summon this card from your hand. Like, that's pretty solid in a counter deck.
Yeah, like, we've seen similar strategies pop up, and people have been using Van Dally, the dragon, to do similar things. But, I mean, he's a 2200, he's a machine, he's a dark. He's just summonable on its own, which isn't terrible.
It's just a whole counter trap. Being able to bring out a monster by negating a card is pretty solid.
Yeah, like I think like the biggest problem we have right now limiting the guys like him is just our limited pool of counter traps right now is kind of the biggest problem.
Fairly decent ones still. We got Seven Tools, we got Ultimate Providence, Champions Vigil, like stuff like that.
Yeah, like we definitely have a few now that it's becoming a lot more reasonable. And we do have a few of these negate summon dudes now, so
Yeah, like Gen X as a whole, they've always been kind of iffy, but the ones we got are pretty okay. Next up, Herald of Creation, 4-star spellcaster, 1800. Discard a card, add a level 7 or higher. Add a level 7 or higher monster from your graveyard to your hand. It's okay. She's a 1800 beater, decent effect if you're playing that kind of deck. Spellcaster, so she gets power of dark support and spellcaster support.
yeah, and she's a light monster, and like we don't really have a good use for her effect right now. Like you can rebuy like fusion guys that you've chucked to the graveyard, but most fusion decks are like super hyper focused, so they don't really have room for something like this right now.
Yeah, and wasting a resource to bring back a level 7 or higher might end up hurting you in the end.
Yeah, like its best draw right now is mostly it's an 1800 attack spellcaster, and it's light. So like it's got like good typing, but that's about it.
Pretty much for now. She's okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's another 2K, field spell beater.
Yeah, she's, like I said, she's just okay for now. Next up is Ninja Grandmaster Sasuke. And this guy is pretty good on his own. He does work with all the ninja support, but if he attacks a face-up defense position monster, destroyed automatically. 1800, 1000 defense. Pretty solid card.
Yeah, like he's got enough attack, he's not enough defense that you can, use a mirror wall to save him in defense position. Kills face-up defense position monsters, which is actually better than it sounds like on paper, because considering all of like our enemy controllers and everything, so it's not like inconceivable to have face-up defensive position monsters. 1800 attack is solid. Ninja support, just all around really solid card.
Yeah, and he's also a warrior, so he does work with the warrior support too. We don't have very many, but they all work.
Yeah, we just don't have good enough incentive to play with warriors specifically right now.
No, but he's good in ninjas, and he can even be in a stall control kind of deck.
Yeah, like it's not unreasonable for you to just like shift dudes to defense and kill them. Like, so that alone is just a really powerful effect.
He looks cool too.
Next up is we have Machina Peacekeeper. More union support. The big thing with this one is when this guy is on the field and destroyed and sent to the graveyard, notice that it doesn't say by battle, so he can be attached to somebody via union and go to the graveyard, and then you get to add any one union monster from your deck to your hand.
It's a solid searcher, and you kind of need a solid searcher with the XYZ guys. Like the unions themselves, like Peacekeeper, Armor, and Platform, you can't really kind of play them by themselves. You have to kind of work around them, and with the XC archetype, we got monsters that can benefit from playing around them, right?
Yeah, and we have the good effects that we can use with them. We have frontline base, we have rollout, so we have all of the union tools that really matter right now.
Yeah, union got a big boost. They're pretty solid. Peacekeeper is one of the better ones, along with Armor. So like the deck's there, just go out and play it.
And we got 2 field spells at Secret Rare, which are pretty disappointing, but we got Mystic Plasma Zone and Luminous Spark. They're both the same. We already got Molten from the previous pack, Dawn of Destiny. Luminous Spark is all light monsters go up 500 attack and lose 400 defense. Mystic Plasma's Omen is the exact same thing for Dark. Pretty self-explanatory. No one's horribly happy about running actual field spells in their deck for pump, but
they're an option. They're okay. They're not the greatest. They're just okay.
Much rather just have these as skills, but obviously we're not at that point yet. Coming up on the traps from the secret rares, though, we have double magical armbind. You have to tribute 2 of your own monsters to take 2 face-up monsters your opponents control, but you only get them till the end of turn, so it's effectively like double econ steal, but that it's a lot more narrow.
It's my opinion, and I don't care if anyone disagrees, but it's just a bad card. I'm surprised it's even a super. The card it's so gimmicky. It's so why would you even bother playing it when you can just play enemy controllers and stuff? I can maybe see a stupid OTK from it, but again, we have better options.
Yeah, the best thing I could think about, honestly, for this card would maybe be for a farming deck of some variety, because you could take 2 defensive dudes. If you're using Elements Unite, you could sack 2 of your dudes, just take 2 of their dudes, but I don't know. Beyond that, I just don't really see this seeing much play.
No, and neither is our next card, Soul Transition. And biggest problem with this card is control no special summon monsters. And we're getting to a point where we can start spamming special summons to a degree. But it's tribute a face-up level 4 normal, summon or set monster, draw 2 cards, can only activate 1. Can't special summon the monsters the turn you activate this card. So why am I playing this to go 0?
Yeah, it's similar to Common Charity or White Elephant Gift, but way more restrictive than all of those. Why is this a secret rare?
It's just it's not a good card. Not in the formats that are coming up. Not in the way we've been playing. I don't see anything really benefiting from this. The only card I can think of that would benefit from that is maybe Black Terra, because it returns to your hand, but even then, why?
Yeah, and you can do this in response to your opponent doing stuff. You can chain it to orders or enemy controllers and that kind of stuff, but it's still not good.
And you can't special summon afterwards.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Next up, Judgment of Thunder. And this one is actually pretty solid overall, because we've got a bunch of decent Thunder monsters. We're getting more Thunder support. We have all the Hunters, pretty much. Creator. And it's when a Thunder type monster is summoned to your field, except during a damage step, target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy the target. So you're destroying whenever you summon a monster, pretty much, if you're playing Thunders, and it's a pretty solid card.
Yeah, being able to destroy any effects on your own summon is pretty solid. It's got trap downside, so you have to set it, you have to wait till it comes back to your turn, unless you're doing summons on your opponent's turn, but we don't really do that right now in Duel Links, so... But the effect is really powerful once we have more good Thunder cards to use with it.
Oh yeah, we're getting there slowly. The card is pretty good on its own in the Thunder deck. We do got Nyan Nyan, and we do got the Hunters. We're working with decent support for them as well, so it's not like the card's bad in any way.
Definitely. We're slowly rounding out our support with we have Judgment, we have Meku, we have the Creator, we actually have stuff for a while, for the longest time it's we had this Meku and we were just well, we have this card that cares about having Thunder cards. We don't have Thunder cards though.
We also did get the Calculator, and he's pretty solid. He might even see play in some farming decks, because he gains 300 times the level of all the monsters on your side of the field.
Yeah, like it doesn't take much for the calculator to get out of control. Like if you just have a 4-star on the field, he's an 1800. If you have like a Red Eyes on the field, he's 2700 attack. So it really doesn't take much for the calculator to just get kind of huge. The biggest problem is you can't really play him on his own. But then he's also a light thunder monster, so you have all of the weird random support for being a light thunder monster. He's a 2-star, he's findable by Raymay. There's a bunch of really like odd things that all work well with this card.
Yeah, he's honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't a super rare instead of something like Soul Transition.
Yeah, he's definitely better than some of the super rares in this pack. It's a bit of an odd pack like that.
Another one that I kind of wanted to talk about too is Miss Valley Executor. Now, I don't know if you know this card or not, but it's basically a walking giant Trunade whenever it's normal summon. Doesn't say tribute summon, even though it's a 5-star, 2100, 1600 attack, 1600 defense. But it's a walking giant Trunade, so it's not bad, and it has a decent sized body to go along with it.
Yeah, it's another thunder monster. It's wind instead of light, so that's a little bit different. We don't really have like a whole lot that cares about wind monsters right this second. The biggest problem is it only hits face-up spell or trap cards. So we in like Super Mai kind of gave us the opposite in Bird Joe, where he returns all face-down ones.
Like they're both interesting. Swift, Birdman, Joe might be better, but this gets rid of potential mirror walls and like certain blockers and field spells as well.
Yeah, it's definitely like an interesting card that could see play depending on like where the field, where the game goes. The fact that you can like actually special summon him out is pretty huge.
Well, think about it. You summon him, bounce back Toon Kingdom, enemy controller to Toon Summon Skull for game.
Yeah, like being able to bounce stuff is pretty valuable, particularly when you start getting stuff like Toon Kingdom, or like if people were running Wonder Balloons again.
Yeah, overall the set's interesting. It gave us some interesting archetypes. It gave us a few decent cards to go along with it. Like, it's not the best set we've got yet, but it's definitely nowhere near as bad as Land of the Titans.
No, it's not our worst set yet. It's actually done things. It's came out with new King of Games decks. It's given us a few like good, interesting cards. It's not like a super generic power creep set like Crimson Kingdom was, but it's definitely interesting. In like if you want to build ice barriers and have like a reasonably competitive deck, it's a pretty cheap deck to build, which is really nice. You have like the nostalgia trip and being able to spam the Xyz-Dragon cannon monsters because we got all of their support.
Yeah, I think they're underrated right this second because they're pretty solid overall.
And like X-Head Cannon is just like a good beater. I mean, it's an 1800, 1500 4-star light machine.
Yeah, and you can click either one of the guys onto making him stronger and get protection.
Yeah, like it's pretty reasonable on its own.
And their fusions are all solid. Frontline base is pretty solid. Machine assembly line is actually, and maybe most people don't know it, but machine assembly line gives them all 200 attack, and every time one's destroyed, you get a junk counter. Right, you can send this card and summon one machine type monster in your graveyard whose level is less than or equal to the number of counters that were on this card.
Which pretty much means like if you have 2 guys die, you can bring one back.
And 200 boost is pretty solid.
Yeah, like the whole support right now that we have for machines is pretty solid. Also like machine assembly line, frontline base, like the Union and guys, those are all reasonably playable with like Victory Viper and some other old cards that we have too.
Well, we also got Gravity Blaster in the newest PvP season, which is pretty solid card.
Yeah, so all in all, some cool role players out of this pack. A few new archetypes that we get to play around with. Some fun nostalgia stuff. Nothing overly gross in the power creep category. So, pretty fun pack. Hopefully we get a few more of these and a few less just gross obvious power creeps down the road, but we're already starting to creep into the, we're getting a whole bunch of just generic 1800s. We got our first 1900. We're getting a lot more dudes with excess of 3000 attack.
Yeah, we're slowly creeping towards that. Hopefully we stay near the almost unplayable 1900s for now. The next set, I don't even think we'll see another 19 or 1800 being a high rarity. I think we're just gonna, hopefully it's not a Land of the Titans, but we'll probably get, the next mini box won't be as crazy as Dawn of Destiny, I hope.
Yeah, like, this is a little bit of shakeup, some interesting role players, nothing too crazy. Obviously, you know, the big bad Red Eyes isn't going anywhere right now, so we'll have to see what comes out of the next few events. Obviously, we had, you know, we just had Merrick. He didn't really change much. We got Mai, and Mai has a couple cards, but mostly it's just helping the ice barriers out of this deck.
Mai didn't do much apart from Dance Princess of the Ice Barrier. Like, Amazons are okay, but there's, even with archers, they're missing stuff to make them remotely good.
Yep. Well, thanks guys for checking this out, and hope to talk to you guys here later when the next time something big and special happens here in Duel Links.
All right, guys, take it easy.
See you later.